Right, boys, today we're going to go over an updated tier list. This is for Arena, BGs, and High Risk. We've got loads of changes the last 2 weeks. We've had 3 different patches with class updates, so let's bring it into the tier list. A lot of people have been asking about the tier list, and it's time to do one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like the video. Let's get into it. Let's start with Frost Mage. I'll give them S+ in 2v2 Arena, for sure. They are insanely good. They have a lot of burst. They just have to be played right. You can't, if you don't know how to play this spec, it's not going to be S+. In High Risk, they're definitely good, but I wouldn't put them at S+. I'd say they're about an S in High Risk. They can do very well, but it doesn't seem like mages are playing that spec. It seems like they're playing Arcane instead. For 3v3, they can be very good as well. The good thing about them is they have Frozen Orb. It's insane in 2v2 if you get 2 of them at the same time. It's insane. The control you have as a Frost Mage is crazy. We'll throw them in S+ still. Arcane Mage is very good in open world PvP. I would probably give them S+ in High Risk. I would probably give them S+. They're using their new pet. The pet has like 3 or 4 different CCs. It's crazy. They can outlast people. They are very, very effective. They don't necessarily play a high burst build, but they kind of outlast everyone and just kite them in High Risk. So I'm going to give them an S+ in High Risk. In Arena, though, I'm probably leaning towards A. I mean, you can burst someone down, but they're not quite S tier because of that. They're very squishy, and you kind of have to set it up with a rogue. In BGs, I'll give them an A too. I think they're decent in BGs. I don't think they're crazy good. Middle S tier. I think that's fair for Arcane Mage. Fire Mage. Fire Mage obviously is crazy in BGs, absolute S++ tier. In 2v2, they can do really well, but they're not as good as Frost Mages. I'd probably give Fire Mages like around middle of S for 2v2 and 3v3 Arena. In High Risk, they are good, but I wouldn't give them S+. I would say Fire is S tier in open world PvP and Arena. S+ tier in BGs. So, we're giving them an S. I think mages are eating good, bro. Mages are eating good. All 3 specs are performing, so I will give them a higher rating than Arcane, though. Proc Paladin got so many nerfs. They got a lot of nerf to their healing, but they're still pumping. They do so much damage, especially in 2v2. And playing with the Resto Shaman, I think that's an S+ comp. It's absolutely bonkers how much damage it can do. 3v3, still very good. I wouldn't say they're quite S+ in 3v3. I would say they're probably around S. They can still dish out a lot of damage in 3v3, but there are other better classes. Open world PvP, because they nerfed their self-healing, I would say they're still strong against the melees. I'd probably put them lower S, high A. I think that's fitting for them. For High Risk, that is. So overall, I'm going to give them S too. I think Proc Paladins are in a very, very good spot. And in fact, I think they're better than Arcane Mages. Rat Paladins. Rat Paladins got hit with the nerfs too. They got hit with the healing nerf. They got some damage buffs too, but I don't feel like they do a lot of damage. I feel like you don't really see Rat Paladin a lot in Arena right now, in high ratings. Now, after the healing, I feel like Rat Paladin kind of fell down. I feel like in Arena, in 2v2, they can be S tier with their healing, but they kind of have to just play around the pillar. They don't really dish out a lot of damage, so I'll give them S, lower end of S in Arena. In 2v2, I don't think they're that good in 3v3, so I'll give them A there. I haven't really seen them a lot in High Risk recently. I think they're still in S tier in High Risk. I think they can still perform in High Risk, even though their healing got nerfed, so we'll put them at the lower end of S. I think BG is nothing special. I'll give them probably B or A. I don't think they're that impactful in BGs. So I'm going to give Rat Paladins a top of A rank. I don't think they're that good. Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest surprised me. Shadow Priest does a lot of damage. Shadow Priest paired with a Rogue, S+ tier comp. Shadow Priest works with a Mage too in Arena. It works with a lot of things. Shadow Priest is one of those specs where it's very difficult to play, but if you play it right, it's insanely good. So, High Risk. I will give them, in High Risk, an S+ tier. Shadow Priest played right is insanely good in High Risk. Now what makes them so good is the Priest 3-piece healing set. It was nerfed last patch too. It did 1500 shield every time you get stunned. Now it's 1100, but it's still every 30 seconds. So every time you get stunned or you can't move your character, you get a shield. This is the healing one, but they're utilizing that because it's a big shield. And it's kind of overpowered. You can get stunned, soak damage, you can dispersion in between, and then you're probably going to get the shield again once you get stunned again. You know what I mean? So in High Risk, definitely S+ for me. BGs, I'll put them at S+ too. I think Shadow Priest is S+ tier in BGs. I'll give them lower end of S+, so overall, I'm going to give them an S+. I think it's an S+ class. I think they're very, very, very good. Assassination Rogue. Assassination Rogues got buffed with a healer in 2v2. I think Assassination can dish out a lot of damage, insane pressure on the healers. Obviously, they don't have the same control the sub has, but they're still insanely good because of their pressure, because they got massive buffs. In Arena, I could give them S+, lower end of S+. I think they're very, very good. High risk, they're gonna struggle a bit in high risk. Firstly, because of the stealth pot, and they don't have the same control, and they're probably gonna struggle against a lot of classes. So you don't really see them in high risk. You rather see sub rogues. So in high risk, I'll give them an A. I think they can still dish out a lot of damage, but they're still not great. BG's A as well. So overall, lower end of S. That's a big upgrade for Assassination. I've seen people play combat. I faced one. He was about 2.3k. I don't think they're that good. I've heard people say, oh, their killing spree is massive damage, but I don't feel like it. I honestly don't feel like they're good. High risk, I don't feel like they're good. I think they're trash in high risk. I think in BGs, probably B. And in 2v2, B. I don't think they're that good. I was expecting them to maybe be good with the armor penetration changes, but unfortunately, I just don't feel like they do enough damage. Obviously, they have a killing spree that does damage. It does damage, but it's nothing crazy. So they go up from trash tier to B. Now, sub rogues. Sub rogues are very good. Sub rogues, I think, are S+ in Arena. I think they're S in BGs. Obviously, you see sub rogues a lot on the ladder. Everyone's playing sub rogues. What makes sub so good now is Prop Paladin was nerfed. So you don't really see a lot of Prop Paladins anymore. Even though they're good, they're just not as overpowered. In BGs, all you see is sub rogues while leveling. Max level, you see way more of them, okay? They're insanely good. They got a nerf. Got 10% to their ambush and 10% to their eviscerate. They're still good. They still do a lot of damage. They still have a lot of control. In open world, in high risk, I will give them an S. Even though the potion's there, the invisibility potion, I'll give them an S. I think they're still dishing out a lot of damage and they can do a lot. And they can run away from every fight. If they are not winning the fight, they can just bounce most of the time. So that makes them very effective in high risk. They can pretty much choose their fights. Obviously, it can happen with the potion that they can die. They have so much control that they can control you, vanish, and go away. So again, they can pick their fights. S tier in high risk, S tier BGs, S+ tier in arena. I am going to give rogues an S+ overall. Balanced druid, obviously they can do a lot of damage in BGs with multi-dotting. They're not really good in arena. They die very fast. They can dish out a lot of damage, but if they get targeted, they can die very fast. In arena, I'd probably give them high end of A against most comps. They can do well with a mage, for example, but when they get targeted, they die. So I think it's fitting to give them A or bottom of S in arena. In high risk, I'll give them similar. I think they can heal a lot. And obviously in BGs, I'll give them S+ if they're multi-dotting. They can do a lot of damage in BGs. They got nerfed a bit. I'll give them S+ in BGs still. A lot of control to get bases. And obviously their damage is still very, very good. Overall, I'm going to give them lower end of S or even A tier. In fact, I think A tier is fitting for them. Elemental Shaman. They're very tanky. They can do a lot of damage. They have a lot of burst, 5-second wind shear. They heal a lot. They're S+ tier in arena. I would say they're S+ or S tier in open world. They can deal with a lot of classes. They're super tanky again. And in BGs, I think they're also up there. I'm going to give them S+ too. I think Elemental Shaman is a very, very good class. Enhancement. Enhancement got wild buffs, actually insane buffs. But then it got rolled back a bit. Their healing got nerfed and their damage got nerfed a bit. I think they're still S+ in arena with the right comp. With BM Hunter, for example, in 2v2, you can suck someone down. With Demo Warlock, they work with a lot of comps. They just have insane pressure, good healing, and kick every 5 seconds. 2v2, S+. In high risk, S+ too. I think they're very, very good there. They're very durable and can deal with a lot of classes. BGs, I'll give them S. I don't think they're insanely impactful in BGs, but they can rush down healers. They can do a lot of damage. They can off heal. And how impactful they are in BGs, maybe around S tier. I don't think they're that insane there, but Ascendance is 60 seconds instead of 90 seconds. They can force cooldowns with Ascendance every time. Wolves do insane damage. They are just very, very good. I'll give them S+ as well. Affliction Warlocks S+ in high risk. They can heal a lot. They're very durable. And if you're playing the Phylactery Trinket, you can probably survive rogues, which is your arch enemy. You can beat every caster if you play right. They're just insanely good in in open world. Everyone's playing it right now. They can do really well with the Resto Shaman. I would say they're S plus comp with the Resto Shaman. In Arena, I'll give them an S, bottom of S plus, but that's only because when paired with the Resto Shaman, they're very impactful. I don't think the damage is crazy by any means. I think without a Resto Shaman, they just don't really do a lot of damage. In BGs, obviously, multi-dotting, a lot of pressure, S plus. I think I'll give Affliction, bottom of S plus, top of S. I think that's fitting for them. Let's put them here for now. Demo got hit with massive nerfs. They got Shadow Crash nerfed twice. Their ring that made them insanely good. The ring to rule them all. It's basically an immolation aura on top of your immolation aura. So you can double immolation aura, or you could. That got nerfed heavily, so you don't do as much damage. However, stacking up your Shadow Crash is way easier now. That got buffed. That legendary got buffed. So you can do Shadow Crashes still for around 3k. If you line it up perfectly, you can still do a lot. 3v3, if you line it up perfectly, they're still insanely impactful in 3v3. 2v2, problem with them in 2v2 is their dots can be dispelled. They're very good with the Resto Druid because you can beam on top of your burst. However, if you don't kill in a burst, you're not really doing a lot. A lot of the healers can dispel your dots. So that's the biggest problem with them. In high risk, they can be good. They're good against some classes. I'll put them at S tier in high risk, but they're not played as much as the other specs. You can play them in high risk if you play the Fellhunter build and you heal yourself. I'll give them around S there. Everyone kind of knows how to deal with Demo right now. They can be banished in their forms. They are kind of just easy to deal with now, and the ring nerf kind of just ruined them. They can still do a lot of damage with the Shadow Crash, but that's it. So you can't give them an S plus with that. BGs, I'll still give them an S plus. If played right, they can be insanely impactful in BGs. In Eye of the Storm, when everyone's stacked, you can do so much damage as a Demo Warlock. So we'll give Demo Warlock around here. I think that's fitting for them. Demo Warlock's still very, very good. Destro Warlock has been nerfed multiple times. Shadow Crash was nerfed, Chaos Bolt was nerfed, but they still do a lot of damage. Destro is still S plus in 2v2. I think Destro is S in high risk. I don't think they're as good as Affliction. Affliction's better in high risk. I think you can deal with Destro in high risk. Now you see way more rogues because prop paladins are not as strong, and enhancement shamans deal with Destro warlocks. So you see a lot of those two classes, which makes Destro not as good in high risk. Destro is S plus. Destro is S in high risk, S plus in arena, S plus in BGs. They still are over here. In fact, yeah, I think this makes sense. Destro's still insanely good. Arms Warrior got buffs with Colossus Smash and Heavyweight. I don't think they use it too much now. In 2v2, I'll give them an S plus. I think in 2v2 with a Paladin, they're insanely good. So in 2v2, we'll give them an S plus. High risk, B. I don't think it's easy to deal with them. And don't play high risk as a Arms Warrior because you can lose your weapons. And in BGs, they can have some pressure, but they die quite fast. I'll give them around A tier in BGs. So if played right, overall, I'm going to give Arms bottom of S because I think they're insanely good in 2v2. So that kind of drags up their level a bit. Obviously, in high risk, if they wouldn't drop their weapons, they could still do well, but they would lose to a lot of classes. Fury got buffs. Fury got a lot of buffs. Fury does a lot of damage, but they take a lot of damage. Problem with Fury is we're playing in a burst meta. You're in Berserker stance all the time, so you take 10% more damage. You use Death Wish, you take 5% more damage on top of that. So you're 15% more damage from physical, 10% from casters. And if you Recklessness on top of it, you're just taking too much damage. But they do a lot of damage. However, they can't charge in combat. They have Intercept, and then they can reset their Intercept every 45 seconds. They get 50% healing reduction, almost 100% uptime. Problem is, you can't charge in combat, so you only have one charge in combat, realistically, which is 20 seconds on Intercept, but you just take too much damage. That's their problem. They die fast. Same with high risk. If you want to spell reflect, you're going to lose one of your weapons because you have to put a shield on. It's going to be in your bag. You're going to lose it. Same with Arms Warrior. You can't really play it in high risk, and I think a lot of classes can beat them. In BGs, they're not as impactful as Arms. I think they're still super impactful, especially with a healer. They can do well. I think in arena, I'll give them A in arena, and I'll give them B in open world. I'll give them around bottom of A overall. Gladstan's warriors are still very good. I think they're really good in open world if they know how to play. They can do insanely well. I think they're still S plus in open world. They have a lot of pressure in BGs. They can do a lot there. I think they're very good in 2v2. I don't think they're quite S plus. I think they're around middle of S in 2v2. I think they're S plus in high risk, and I think they're around S in BGs. We'll give them middle of S. I think that's fitting for them. Feral Druid. Feral Druid is decent in world PvP. I'll give them A, bottom of S. In high risk. In BGs, I'll give them B. I don't think they're too impactful there. Actually, I'll just give them trash in BGs. I don't think I think they suck, honestly. S plus in 2v2 if played right. One of the classes where you have to play it right. So overall, I'll give Feral around middle of S. Only because they're very effective in 2v2. Feral tank is trash. It sucks. They don't get rage. Nothing's really changed for them. They just suck. They're just trash. Unfortunately, I really hope they do some changes with them. They suck everywhere. They suck in BGs, they suck in high risk, and they suck in arena. So I really hope they give them some changes so you can, obviously we don't really want to bring in a lot of tank specs, but make them a bit more viable because they suck so bad. BM Hunter. BM Hunter is S plus in arena with an enhancement shaman. The reason they are so good in 2v2 right now is because enhancement's so good. BM Hunter is very good, but you know, without enhancement being this good, they wouldn't be S plus tier. I would give them around maybe S in arena. Open world, I'll probably give them A. I think they struggle in open world. I don't think you play BM. I've never seen one in high risk. BGs, I'll give them A as well. I don't think they're really impactful in BGs either. So we will give BM Hunters somewhere around lower S. Even though they do a lot of damage, they're still, the only reason they're here is because of arena. They are really good in 2v2 arena. They do a lot of damage. MM got some buffs. Haven't really seen a lot of them. I don't think they're too good. I think in arena, you can give them A tier. I think they got some buffs, so they can actually do some stuff in arena. And if you pair them with a rogue, they can probably do well. However, haven't really seen them be a lot of threat. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong about them, but I haven't really seen them do insanely well in arena. BGs, I think MM Hunter is very good in BGs. I will give them S tier in BGs. Hunters are just good in BGs, especially marksmen. They're very consistent. They have CC, silencing shot. I see a lot of them there, but that's it. High risk, they can be good. I would probably give them, in the right hands, a good player could probably be S tier. Overall, I'm going to give them bottom of S, purely because they got buffs, and if they're played right, it's one of those classes as well. It's one of those specs as well where if you're really good at them, they're really good. I am inclined to put them in A, but I'll give them bottom of S. Survival got some buffs. Haven't seen too much of them. So unfortunately, in 2v2, I don't really know how they fare. I don't think anything's really changed. I think they just flop kind of hard against the best comps. Enhancement Shaman, Sub Rogue, Frost Mage, Destro Warlock. And I think it's purely because the best classes are so much, it's so much played of the best classes that it's so hard for Survival Hunter to deal with them. They reduce the cooldown of their charge, but that's not going to help you with a Frost Mage slowing you all the time. That's not going to help you with Sub Rogue control and dismantle so you can't deterrence. You're just dead. Enhancement deals too much damage and heals too much. That's the problem with them. I'll give them A in arena. I think A, maybe bottom of A in arena. I haven't really seen them. Open world PvP, they can do well. They actually surprisingly can do decent in open world PvP in high risk. I don't think they're quite S though. I think they're A. In BGs, I think they're okay. They're not really crazy, not really impactful. They're kind of like BM Hunters, but just a bit worse. I'm going to put Survival somewhere with Fury. I think they can play along at the bottom. Now we go for the healers. Holy Paladin. Holy Paladins are still very good. They got so many instant casts. They're very tanky. They're insane in 2v2 with a warrior. They're S plus there. And they can work with other comps too. In BGs, I'll give them S plus 2. And obviously, high risk. We'll put Crow's Cast instead of 1v1 high risk. So I think they're still S plus there. I think Holy Paladin is up here. I think they're somewhere with Shadow Priests and how strong they are. Holy Priest. Holy Priests are good in BGs. Obviously, you can heal a lot with Circle of Healing. You have a lot of healing, but you die. You die very fast, especially since Assassination Rogues are strong now, and Enhancement Shamans. Good luck dealing with them. So, Holy Priest in PvP, they can work in Crow's Cache decently and BGs decently. We'll give them. I'm not going to be too hard on them. I think, yeah, they're better than Combat Rogues. Yeah. You can do well in BGs and Crow's Cache, everything else you suck. This Priest got nerfed quite a bit, but I still think they're S+ in Arena. I still think they're S+ in Crow's Cache, and I still think they're S+ in BGs. So, we'll put them with the Paladins. I think they're kind of equal now. Resto Shamans. Resto Shamans got so many buffs, and in fact, Resto Shaman is one of the classes right now that feels like it's the hardest to kill. You see all these casters at S+. Right now, Resto Shamans deal with casters pretty well. Resto Shaman is insane in 2v2. They can play with Destro Warlock. They can play with Affliction Warlock. They can play with Protection Paladin. They can play with a lot of classes. And they're S+. I feel like they are the best healer overall right now. As crazy as that sounds. I think they're the best. I think it's very hard to choose between all the healers. I think they're all so good. But Resto Shaman's got so many buffs, and it seems like they just don't die. If they know what they're doing, they don't die. It's insane. So overall, I'm going to give them, they're kind of tying with Disc Priest. For me, I might, Disc might go slightly over, but I'm going to put Resto Shaman here. I see a lot of them, and they are so difficult to deal with, man. But again, I'm torn. Resto Druid, it's in a bursty meta. They have to play it perfectly. It's one of those specs where you have to play it perfectly for it to be good. I think in Arena, Resto Druid is S. I don't think they're S+. I think they're S. I think they're the healer that's the easiest to deal with. In Crow's Cache, probably S2. And in BGs, I'll give them S2. Honestly, I don't think Resto Druid is up there. I'll give them, they're tied with Demo. I think that's fitting for them. They have HOTS and it's a bursty meta, but at the same time, they can do really well. But they're not on this level. They're not on the level with the other healers, unfortunately. All right, boys, that's it. That's it for the updated tier list. Of course, if you like the video, put a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Also, if you didn't agree with everything I said, let me know in the comments too. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.